I watched the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show with my father on February 9th, 1964. My father loved the Beatles, and a boy loves what his father loves. I write about 100 songs a year. I finish one every 3 days. Yes, that's too many. No, I can't stop. But not too long ago, I was typing a lyric, and I typed the phrase, the United States of America. And by mistake, I typed the United States of amnesia. That's cool, I thought. I had discovered something, only to discover that Gore Vidal had coined that phrase back in the 70s. And I quote, "We are the United States of amnesia. We learn nothing because we remember nothing." The more things change, the more they stay the same. And then they can tell us who we are, and they can tell us where we're from, and they can tell us to whom we belong. And then they can sell us stuff that we don't really want or need and deliver it to us within the hour, and then they can tell us what to think and who to vote for. Rehearsing your history can help combat that assault. What are the causes? Well, there are many, I suppose. We're a very mobile society. We move from place to place, and if you don't quickly reestablish yourself, you'll quickly disappear. Then there's technology. We're staring at these screens all day, every day, and they call it stuck in the eternal present, where there's no future and there's no past. And we're bombarded by 2.5 million ads every year, and then there's the ticker at the bottom of the TV screen that alerts us to the latest crisis. And quite frankly, it's just easier sometimes to forget than it is to remember, but we forget at our own peril. Yes. Now that's the view from 30,000 feet. Let's get down to the street level where you and I live. If I were to tell you about my songs, I would tell you about the 2,300 songs that have not been recorded, not the 200 some odd that have been recorded. I would tell you about the "What Was I Thinking" songs, the "How Could I Have Been So Crazy" songs. I wouldn't tell you about the hits. Why? Well, I guess it's because I have a very negative, critical view of myself. Maybe it's I have a sad sack disposition. Maybe my mother told me it's impolite to brag on oneself. Maybe I've mastered the art of self-deprecation. Maybe my Protestant guilt and shame overwhelms me with self-loathing. Whatever it is, I have a wildly inaccurate view of myself. Now that's me. Then there's the other guy, the guy that tends to whitewash his past, the politician that exaggerates his record to such a degree that he would know a fact from a lie if it hit him square in the face with a shovel. It's the braggart at the cocktail party that you forgot to avoid. You have to decide which camp that you're in, but the result of both these catastrophes is that we end up believing lies and not the truth, and lies tend to lead us to isolation and loneliness and amnesia. Yes, remembering your history can help combat that assault. If you don't know where you've been, my friend, you're not going to know where you're going. I draw a distinction between history and memory, in that memory can be a work of fiction. History is actually a fact. It may have to be corroborated by others, but it still is a fact. Let me tell you why rehearsing my history was so healing and helpful to me. I'm going to tell you about my father. My father was a steel salesman. He was a ukulele strumming, piano playing steel salesman. He was a wonderful father. He was a wonderful husband. He was challenged at times with depression and could be troubled at times, but aren't we all? Had a fairly idyllic life, I thought. At age 10, my father and I went roller skating early one Saturday morning, and he fell and broke his arm. My mother took him to the doctor's office to get a cast and 50 opioids, and he was hooked right then and right there. He needed more and more, and he gamed the system. And my mother had to take him to the sanitarium, which was really like a rehab, and then she covered for him with his bosses while he was gone and took him around on the sales calls when he got back. And it took a while, and he recovered until he didn't. It was, again, a fairly normal life, I thought, for the next 12 years. Now it's 1975, and my father is retiring from U.S. Steel with a gold watch and a 45-year pin, and my sister was getting married, and I was graduating from college. It really should have been the best of times. It was, in fact, the worst of times. It started an 18-year slow-motion suicide ride of depression and addiction and hospitals and doctors and shock treatments and terrible, terrible nursing homes. Miraculously, and I mean miraculously, my father recovered the last 3 years of his life. It was a miracle. And our fellowship was restored and his faculties returned, and it was a joyous time. He ultimately died of cancer in 1996. I thought that I had made peace with that, quite honestly, but over the next few years, when I would see a picture of my mother and father holding hands, I'd pass a McDonald's. He loved Big Macs. I'd see somebody chewing gum. He loved Freedent. He had dentures. I'd hear me and Bobby McGee. He loved Christofferson. There he was, just drifting in this soft Georgia wind, and he was saying something, and I couldn't quite make it out. He kind of had a half smile, but there would be this overwhelming sorrow that would take over. And I thought, well, maybe that's just the way it is with fathers and sons. One of you's a son of a bitch, and the other's a son of a gun. At the same time, my life had moved on. I married the love of my life, and I had 3 children. I experienced some success with music. I had a few accolades, made a little money. I had some good friends. And then I developed this unrelenting, overwhelming sense of a burning ambition. It was unhealthy. It was driving me crazy with great anxiety. Do more, accomplish more, be more successful, like a rat on a wheel, just dancing faster and faster. And ultimately, there was a convergence between the grief for my father and this unrelenting, unhealthy ambition. And I guess I finally surrendered, and I did what a writer does. I just sat down and I wrote about it. I opened up my black and white composition book, and I was shocked. Like poison spilled out on the page, onto the table, onto the hardwood floor. Let somebody else clean it up. I was furious at my father for giving into the addiction and the chaos that he had sown in our lives. I was angry at my mother for giving up on my father. The greatest anger and fury was directed towards myself because I hadn't advocated for my father like I should have. The medical system failed him. But I still couldn't put my finger on this unrelenting, burning ambition that I had. It just made no sense. But as I gave myself to the process and wrote more and more, trying to connect the dots, there it was, hiding in plain sight. My ambition was tied directly to trying to redeem my dead father's reputation. 20 years after my father died, I'm still trying to make you think better of my father. I thought if I was successful enough, I could convince you of that. It's insane, I know, but there it was. It was in black and white and on the paper, and honestly, I felt a great sense of relief once I had it there and I could call it by its name, whatever it was, and I could start kind of working my way through it, and I'm still working my way through it, I guess, but the shackles on my ankles started to become loose, and I could regain my equilibrium, and And then I literally had this epiphany. The epiphany was I saw my Father dancing on the streets of heaven, and he was saying, "My son, tell your son, I'm a new creation. Let it go." And I'm trying to let it go. But my friends, it's almost as if we live in a culture that tries to dismantle us, and a recollection of ourselves that's about as clear as a muddy river. Rehearsing my history. Now back to you. I'm going to give you a mission possible. It's fraught with difficulty, but most worthy endeavors in life are, as you know. I'm going to give you 4 steps to rehearsing your history. Step number 1. You have to take an inventory of your life. You have to find that broken place that never got fixed, the wound that never healed. It's there in the closet in the back of your mind, back in the left, and it's hanging next to the skeletons. It's covered with shame and guilt and disappointment and despair. It's really pretty obvious. I think if you're looking for it, it's that thing you've been trying to avoid your entire life, but it's right there waiting for you. You have to take an inventory of your life. Step number 2, you have to dust it off. You got to walk in the closet of your mind. You have to go back to where the skeletons are. You have to pick this thing up, and you have to drag it into the light of day and throw it on the sidewalk and call it by its name for you and all the world to see. This is honestly the hardest step, but I'm telling you it gets easier from here, and you can do this. And then you have to go to a drugstore and you have to get a black and white composition book and a yellow number 2 pencil. You have to sharpen the pencil really, really sharp, because the pencil and the paper are amnesia killing machines. There's no screen involved. Don't get freaked out. It's a tactile experience. You just have to write. Step number 3. You have to open up a vein metaphorically. So open up your black and white composition book, and at the top of each page write sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, motion. Pat Pattison calls that sense-bound writing. You want to describe this thing, whatever it is, in the most brilliant, gory, intense, micro details that you can. Don't worry about telling a story, just describe it. The narrative will actually reveal itself to you as you describe it. It's magic the way it comes to life. Don't worry about getting it right, just get it written. Then step number 4, you have to gather some friends. And I know what you're thinking, I don't have friends like that. Well, you're going to need friends to go forward. What is a friend? A friend is someone that always lets you in and never lets you down. That's what Tim Keller says. Why not your family? Because you don't get to choose your family. You get to choose your friends, and they choose you. They love you for who you are and for who you're not. And then you need to drop the needle on the vinyl and play a couple of songs that are the soundtrack of your life. It will help your story come to life. And they say we should all cry once a week, so cry your story, pantomime it, whisper it, throw a tantrum, whatever you have to do, get the story out. Don't even worry about telling it correctly. You'll tell it incorrectly, but your friends, your community will help you correct the false narrative. And then here's the best part. Out of the fog and the mist and the amnesia, stones of history will emerge. As the lies drift away on like ashes on the wind, these stones of your history, from where you've been to where you're going, from your past to your future, leaving this thing behind that you have finally started to deal with. And you can get on with your life. Rehearsing your history was valuable and helpful to me, and maybe it will be to you. I have a silver mint julep cup. It says June 1st, 1994, Tom Douglas, Little Rock, BMI. When your song goes number one, they give you lots of cool stuff. I presented this silver mint julep cup to my father as a symbol of our achievement. It was as much his as it was mine. And he showed it to every nurse, doctor, and orderly that came in his nursing home room until the day he died. Rehearsing my history led me to this song. I'm about the age that he was, second time he got sick, and retired with a gold watch. Tick tock tick. He had faith in the doubts, working out his salvation. Me, I'm trying to live up to my father's reputation. I'm the son of a salesman. I got 2/3 of his name. The first one is Abel. The second one, Cain. He got lost between Hank Williams and the book of Revelation. Me, I'm trying to live down my father's reputation. And love is complicated between a father and a son. One of you is a son of a bitch and the other is a son of a gun. But every song I write and every fight I fight, I resist the cruel temptation to redeem my father's reputation. But I carry it on, and I carry the name, and I hear his voice in the drops of the rain. Won't you come home, Bill Bailey? And he left me some songs and an old ukulele. And every song I write and every fight I fight, I've a greater appreciation for my father's reputation.